Welcome to Type C Tech Reviews. Today we're going to be doing a review of the Dell G3223D. If at any point during the video you want to check out this exact same monitor, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links, but let's jump into it. All right, right off the bat, this is a 31.5-inch 2560 by 1440p resolution monitor, and spoiler alert, I absolutely love this thing. Now the PPI, or pixels per inch, essentially how crisp and clear your actual panel is going to be, is about 93. So you have about 93 pixels per inch. Now if you compare this to a 1440p 27-inch monitor, that's gonna be about 109. So this isn't a massive difference. And if you are coming from a 27-inch 1440p panel, this won't be that big of a difference. Also because that 32-inch monitor will probably be further back than the 27-inch. So at your typical viewing distance, I think this thing looks really good. It still looks crisp enough. It's not quite where like a 1080p 27-inch monitor is a little bit lower than that. That gets into the like mid to low 80s with your PPI. So 93 is still good and it's not really that big of a difference. So I really like this. If you are concerned about resolution, I don't think I would be if you're used to using 1440p panels at 27 inches. I wouldn't worry about it. All right, but moving on to panel type, this is an IPS panel, which means if you prioritize great colors, great viewing angles, no color shift, no brightness shift, and especially great gaming performance, and we'll move into that, you'll start getting that throughout the video. This thing is amazing. The refresh rate goes all the way up to 165 Hertz, which is good. However, the big thing here is the variable refresh rate. This has FreeSync Premium Pro, so the highest end FreeSync Premium they can get, but it also has NVIDIA G-Sync, which is absolutely fantastic. And during testing and usage, which I did game on this quite a bit because it was such a good panel to game on, this didn't have any problems with screen tearing, which is what we expect at this price point. Now, brightness, okay? This is what I am very happy about. This thing has an advertised brightness of about 400 nits, which is good in and in itself. However, this way outperforms that. After testing, this thing was hitting 515 nits in typical SDR content. That is unbelievable. This panel, the second I took it out of the box, you can watch the unboxing. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is such a vibrant, beautiful, bright panel. I'm in love with it. All right, but moving on from that, that is not it. This also has HDR support. So when you turn HDR on, this thing hits just shy of 600 nits, okay? That's a lot of brightness. It was literally hitting like 595 nits. So literally just shy of 600 nits, which is absolutely fantastic. If you like doing some HDR gaming, Forza Horizon 5, I've been playing Forza Horizon 5 in HDR quite a lot lately. It's absolutely fantastic for that. However, the SDR brightness is amazing, just like it is. So the vibrancy, the brightness, absolutely fantastic. All right, moving on to colors. Colors are actually quite good here, covering 95% of the DCI-P3 color gamut, which is good. That's a pretty wide coverage. If you need to do some photo or video editing, you can absolutely do it on this, which is pretty awesome. And being an IPS panel, this can be an ultra good gaming panel, but it can also be a totally fantastic work panel that you can, you know, do emails on or whatever you want. This thing can be, it can be your main work display as well as a full, very good gaming panel. Now, as far as calibration, mine actually came pretty accurately calibrated, which is awesome. But again, this can vary between units. However, the cool thing is that this thing can output 10 bits of color. It uses an 8-bit native panel and then frame rate control, or FRC, to then output 10 bits of color like everyone's doing. All of the higher end panels are doing that. So that is really awesome to see. And not just that, but it's actually doing 10 bits of color at full 165 Hertz. Now, in-game, colors look absolutely fantastic. This panel is beautiful. The wide color gamut mixed with the brightness, it is so beautiful. I know I'm gonna say that so many times in this video, but it truly is, and I wasn't really expecting it to be this good. All right, but moving on to contrast ratio, this is the one thing that you're not gonna get, and that's just because it's an IPS panel. The black levels on an IPS panel are never gonna be that deep black that you get on a VA panel or an OLED. However, I don't care too much here. So the contrast ratio is 1,000 to 1. But what about backlight, bleed, IPS glow? After testing, again, I do want to say this can vary between units. So this may be different on yours. You might have some quality control issue or not. Probably not. However, mine had no backlight bleed or IPS glow, which is absolutely fantastic. If yours does have that, send it back. But I think you should be pretty good. I've gotten a lot of Dell monitors and I haven't had any quality control issues yet, so that's a good thing. All right, but this is where it gets really good. Response time and ghosting. Let's talk about it. Okay, so the response time hits 1 millisecond gray to gray. However, we know from watching all of my videos, if you do, that this means absolutely nothing. So let's move into how does that actually equate to ghosting? Because this could be a deal breaker for a lot of you. Let me just say this, it won't be, okay? This has the lowest ghosting I have ever seen on any monitor, but it ties with the other LG high-end panels, the IPS high-end panels, which is not a bad thing because LG has had the lowest amount of ghosting in basically every gaming monitor segment that is an IPS panel. They've just been the king of that, and most monitors will have close to the amount of ghosting that the IPS panels from LG have, but not quite as good. And so I'm always going LG's better, but this one's dang close. This one is on par, and that's a really good thing. There's basically no ghosting. Now, there is 3 response time settings. In any of them, there's like no ghosting. However, in Extreme, which is the fastest one, there's no pixel overshooting at all. So just leave it in Extreme. There's no reason not to just leave it in Extreme. It should ship in Extreme, but it's not hard to change at all. So leave it in Extreme, put it to Extreme. There's no ghosting. It's seriously amazing that they do this. Dell is really doing some big stuff right now. LG's been on top for a while, but I think Dell's catching up fast. All right, now the menu system and controls. If you guys watch my videos, you know how I'm gonna feel about this. I like some things, I don't like some things. So I love that they have a dedicated power button. For using this every single day, that's actually a bigger deal because when I use an LG panel, which is what I use every single day, I use an LG ultrawide, I have to press it in and then I have to push up, and sometimes I have to wait for it a little bit. It's a little bit laggy. So having a dedicated button where I can click it, it's on or it's off. It's one click and you're done. That's actually big. When I go to bed, click it off, wake up in the morning, click it on. That's fantastic. Now, the thing that I don't like is there's 4 programmable buttons on the back right side. I don't like that they have the menu system controls on the right side because if you have a dual monitor setup, you're not gonna be able to touch them without going really far behind it. So it's not in the best location. However, those 4 programmable buttons, I never use them. I don't know why they're there. I guess you can program stuff. It doesn't make any sense. Get rid of them. However, a joystick controls the rest of it, and it's pretty easy to use. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's not really that much of a learning curve. However, the menu system itself is functional. It works. It's a little bit less intuitive than like LG's just because sometimes it's harder to see when you're actually selecting something. It's not that pretty, but it works, it functions, and there's a lot of stuff you can change in there. I would tell you all of this stuff, but we're gonna be going through it for a while. So there's, you know, all your picture settings, your contrast, your brightness, your HDR settings. They have HDR for movie and whatever. So there's a lot of settings there that you can mess around with, which I do like. However, the menu system is like, it's just good. It's in the middle, it's neutral. But I love that on and off switch or button. Whatever. But moving on to ports, something that also Dell has been killing recently. It has 2 HDMI 2.0s for console. You can also do full 120 hertz with those HDMI 2.0s, so fantastic for all you console gamers out there. And then they have a 1 DisplayPort 1.4, full bandwidth there, not a problem. Then you get a USB Type-C, which can be used as a display as well as having 15 watts of charging, as well as being an upstream port for 2 USBs, which is fantastic. Now the USBs are in a different location than that back port, which we're gonna talk about, but the last port is a 3.5mm audio out. So if you wanna plug in your stuff, you can plug it in there. But let's talk about the placement. So most of those ports are on the back. Fantastic, it's in a fine location, it's great. But then the USBs with that 3.5mm audio out is on the right side, right underneath the monitor, on that chin, and it's in such a good location. When I was using this monitor and my wireless headset was dying while I was in the middle of a game, I took out a USB-C cable that was in my desk drawer, and I don't have to go into my PC, pause the game, and then kind of like rewire everything in my PC. It's such a hassle to do that. I hate doing it. But with this, I literally just plugged it into the monitor without having the USB-C plugged in. Whereas like on all LG monitors, if you have any other ports, you have to either have a USB Type-B or a USB Type-C upstream to have any power to the USB ports. This one, you just have to have it plugged in. So I was charging my headphones with those USB ports. It was so simple, it was so quick, it was so out of the way. It was fantastic. That's something that you don't get on the competition, and this is just like there. And it's so nice. All right, stand and build quality. It is good, it's understated, but it's elegant and it's nice. It's not too in your face. It's not too gamery. They have kind of a grayish, silvery, metallic-y look to the plastic on the back and on the bottom stand. It looks very pretty and looks nice. They do have a cable channel in the back, which does work well unless the monitor is super high up. Then you can still see the cables, but I don't think most of you will have that, so that's not too big of a deal. There's thin bezels on 3 sides with a chin in the bottom. It's an attractive overall looking monitor. It looks modern, but let's move on to the functionality of it. It has height adjustability and quite a lot of it too. It has tilt. No rotation, but it does have quite a bit of swivel that is really quite nice. And I don't really like swivel. This one is nice swivel. It's built into the stand in a really good way, and you can get everything really precise because everything is such a fluid, even movement, which is great. And one last thing to mention is there is some like lighting on the back that kind of goes up and around it. You can't really see it unless you're in a completely dark room, but it doesn't really emit enough light to actually glow up the back of the monitor, which is the same on basically every monitor ever. But overall, this is one of the best 32-inch IPS gaming monitors out there. If you want an incredibly fast, bright, and stunningly beautiful monitor, this is it. Again, if you want to check it out, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. This thing freaking blew me away. I absolutely love this monitor. Probably my #1 recommended monitor in that like $500 to $600 price point. This thing is freaking fantastic, and I love it. If you guys love bright, beautiful monitors, IPS, low ghosting, what doesn't this thing do except for being curved? It's so good. All right, this was Type C Tech Reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next video.